Oh, for sure. It is.
So anyway,
I've shaved and everything for the show, bro.
What's that?
I've shaved and everything for the show. This is like, it's showtime, baby.
Well, welcome back, everybody. Steve is shaved for the show, as you just heard. as we've come in early. Welcome back to the podcast. Well, you know what we don't do normally, because now that we're using the Zoom calls, I don't like the intro is kind of like just happening naturally, so I don't really know what we're going to talk about. But my hope for this episode, everybody, is that we're going to talk about lockdown fatigue, but I also want to talk to Steve about Trump's press conference last night. I don't know if you watched it or not. And then finally, I want to talk about. Well, I watched the Waco miniseries last night, so I did want to talk a little bit about.
You have to tell me about that, because I don't know what it is. I will say you did get me and the missus onto Caliphate, so we're on that buzz at the moment.
Okay, so no spoilers then. Let's start with Caliphate, because Caliphate is similar in a way,
Okay,
cultish.
Right.
Well, I mean, there's just the moldability of the human mind to leadership and to crazy idealistic goals is pretty fascinating. What episode are you on Caliphate?
I'm literally only halfway through episode 2, so like.
Oh wow! But what's your feeling? It's pretty addictive, right?
It's addictive. It's intense. It's also it's really well made. It's interesting how all the things that go viral that people are talking about, like Tiger King or whatever like that, which is obviously it was what it was. But this Caliphate is so well written and so well made. It's interesting that people don't talk about that, but it's really you feel straight away from the way that it's shot and the dialogue and the plot lines and everything was like, oh, this is a proper fucking TV show here. Like, this is good.
Yeah, well, the Scandinavians have done some good ones. The Bridge.
Oh, amazing! Yeah.
What was the other one that was amazing that I watched? And
The Killing.
Killing. Both of them remade. Not as good by American companies.
The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the original one, I remember watching that. I was in West Cork for a couple of days, and like I think each film is 2.5, 3 hours long. But the original, the Swedish version of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is just next level. It's amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
What is it? Naomi Rapace or whatever? Oh my God. I mean, I guess I watched the first one and then I read all the books. I read the first one again.
Oh, you read them? Okay, cool.
I read them because I loved the movie so much.
Wow.
And then I watched the movies, or I can't remember if I watched it. Anyway, I read all the books. I never watched the American version.
No, I haven't watched it either.
Rooney Mara.
And weird, interesting one. The main girl, who I don't remember her name, in the Swedish one.
The character or the actress?
The actress.
Oh yeah, it's Naomi Rapace, I believe is her name.
Is that okay? Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me.
I got to work at an event in the famous kind of like, they don't like it being called a shopping centre, but in London, Liberty, that kind of big fancy shop place or whatever.
Store.
Department store, exactly. Sorry.
Yeah. I still have a pair of shoes I bought there like 13 years ago.
Nice, so cool. But she was launching her perfume line, and they hired the restaurant that I was working in to do the food for it. So yeah, I was there, and I was like the head waiter for it, serving the table. It was like so cool to be there. So there was literally 50 people at a table eating this amazing food, and it was all for the launch of her perfume, of course, of which we got a free bottle.
What was it called?
I don't know.
Dysfunctional.
Yeah. I don't know. I remember it was very sweet. That's all I remember. The worst bit about that was the food was coming from a separate room, and we had to move all these tables around, and they had dropped the lamps. Sorry, the lamps were like really low lying, and because we were in a panic, you have to remain calm out the front, obviously, like you know what you're doing. But we were one dish short, and I was sprinting back in to get the last dish. Ran straight through one of the lamps, glass everywhere.
Oh my God!
But I had to keep going. I didn't cut or anything, so I was like, keep going, give me another duck dish. It goes straight through, and then obviously you're out the front and you go, now, madam, there you go, there's your duck.
That's like straight up scene from a a movie, like a restaurant opening movie. It's the big day. The critic is in, like Ratatouille.
Yeah.
One of my favorite scenes ever in a cartoon is the moment when the critic tastes the ratatouille for the first time, and he immediately goes back to his childhood.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so
what a
funny.
movie!
I love Ratatouille, man. Fantastic cartoon. So anyway, well, maybe we might talk about some cult stuff at the end.
Cool.
But so you didn't watch Trump yesterday. You're not up to date on Trump.
I've to be honest with you, I'm not, because so people are getting so angry, and the stuff that he's coming out with, I just find it not great for my head. But the guy is ridiculous. So no, I didn't see what he said yesterday. What did he say?
Well, here's the big updates that I would be ranting about on my own if you weren't sitting in front of me. So Fox News and Trump have stopped mentioning hydroxychloroquine. Are you up to date on that story?
No. Go on, tell me.
Well,
I'd say most people in Ireland aren't, to be fair. So you'll have to update us all.
This cannot be true, Steve, because the amount of people that message me about Trump.
Oh, really? Okay, sorry.
And actually, my friend who doesn't follow me on Instagram, like he's my friend since 1994.
Right.
Every time we talk on the phone, he is angrier than me about Trump. So some people are watching.
Well
Trump.
up into it. Okay.
So don't blame all of Ireland for the fact that you are not engaged with the most important story of the fucking party.
It's a conscious choice. Like I've done it on purpose because the first 2 weeks of the lockdown, I was just too fucking, I was going down the rabbit hole, bro.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. So Trump was pushing hydroxychloroquine very heavily, like as if this was going to be the thing that solves.
I did know that. Sorry. Yes, that's right.
Yes.
He was pushing this specific. Yeah.
Yeah, and Fox was really pushing it hard, particularly Laura Ingraham. I mean, Sean Hannity was doing it too. But anyway, they were all basically pushing it. And then they were also beginning to sort of push this narrative that the left were against hydroxychloroquine because Trump had pushed it, right?
Right.
Which was nonsense, of course. The majority of the world's media was saying, can we just wait and see if this actually works? But, my layman's opinion is that Trump was like basically betting it all on a number on the roulette table, thinking if this hits, it's going to be huge. And if it doesn't hit, I'll pretend that I wasn't really pushing it in the first place like he always does. And now the studies are just coming back over and over. Limited effect, possible dangers, all the things you would expect from the fact that this was just one of like 20, 30 drugs that they were trying to see if it had any efficacy on treating the coronavirus. And like, of course, the press do their best, but sometimes I feel like they don't push Trump too hard on something they know he's just going to freak out about, because then they just get nothing from him. But Fox News, Trump, they've all just kind of stopped talking about it, even though it's like, I feel like in any other country it would be fucking a major scandal that Trump
So what has happened? That they're both they're not advertising. Well, essentially they are. They keep talking about it, about the benefits that they think this drug is going to happen, and all of a sudden they've just stopped talking about it.
Well, yeah, they've had to stop talking about it because now the evidence is that it doesn't fucking work.
So who brought out that evidence?
There was numerous studies coming out, but the biggest study so far, I mean, there's been little tidbits of information suggesting that the early excitement about hydroxychloroquine was unfounded.
Yes.
They stopped using it. The news part of Fox reports it, and then Dr. Oz, who was another big pusher of hydroxychloroquine, had to fucking egg on his face, just gently say, I think we need to stop pushing hydroxychloroquine and wait for the double-blind studies to come out because there's too much data. It's too confusing. But, of course, he was saying that on Fox and Friends. So Fox and Friends weren't like, hey, how do you feel about the fact that we were all in behind this drug and now we look like fucking idiots? Yeah. Because it was all anecdotal. I mean, Trump literally a week ago was like, this woman, she's a Democrat state senator, and she took it and she thanked me for saving her life because she took it and she was fine. I mean, that was literally what Trump was saying a week ago, and now it's just like, and don't forget, Trump was, Governor Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo said, that they had bought a lot of hydroxychloroquine as a kind of a just in case. What have we got to lose? A lot of this drug was bought all over the world because Trump was pushing it, and it's useless.
And what's the connection with him? And does he know somebody who owns the company, or
I'm not?
Or
the New York Times tried to get into that. I don't think that. I honestly, I don't think that was the motivation. I think the motivation is that Trump, which you can see if you watch the press conference yesterday, Trump from the get-go has constantly tried to play down the seriousness of the virus because even though he keeps losing in terms of his playing it down, at every turn he feels like the virus being bad is bad for him, so he tries to act like it's not going to be bad, right? Which has been a terrible strategy from the get-go, because He played it down, didn't take action, made it worse. Then, when it was terrible, he's tried to reopen too quickly, which is definitely going to make it worse. And one of the ways that he was trying to suggest that we don't need to do as much mitigation was because hydroxychloroquine is going to work, and we're going to have shut down the economy for nothing. So he had all these pie-in-the-sky hunches, and, he has hunches all the time. Like, 1 out of every 10 times, one of his hunches is right. And then they all just focus on that as if he's some sort of fucking genius. And they just ignore all the other shit that he keeps messing up.
Are they connecting this to the protest that people are having against the lockdown as well? Is that fueling it?
Fox News is fueling the protests 100%. If you watch Fox News, now it's not hydroxy. Well, first of all the protesters, they're all big hydroxychloroquine people.
Of course,
I know a guy out here who's a hydroxychloroquine guy. And when I met him like 2 weeks ago, he was just like, there's a conspiracy against hydroxychloroquine. Like the whole, in the Trump people's minds, it feels like they feel like the whole world is on lockdown to get at Trump. They can't take it out of the orbit of Trump is a shit leader. So they have to act like all this, lockdown, mitigation, the world economy tanking is all people want that because they want to get rid of Trump. Right.
And that's super scary stuff that a whole such a large part of a whole nation can actually think that, because I'm watching and listening to different podcasts and different US podcasts and some people who you think are educated are genuinely they don't seem to see the bigger picture of what's going on in the world. There's some people only now kind of going, yeah, this is kind of bad, isn't it? And it's just like this pandemic is kind of bad. And it's just like, no shit. What have you been reading? What have you been watching?
Yeah, and obviously, So at the press conference, just to give an example of the paranoia and the way that Fox spins it, right? Because Fox is going to have a lot to answer for when this is all over, because it's one thing to have this divisive CNN versus Fox kind of two alternative narratives. That's kind of fine when it's about things that aren't as serious as this, but it's not fine in relation to this because, unfortunately, they took this opposing position to taking this thing seriously, which is basically that we're all overreacting and the cure is worse than the disease. I've been saying it over and over on this podcast, but essentially the cure is worse than the disease has been the Fox News take, right? Yeah. And that's where the protests are coming from. The protests have been pushed by this thing that the cure is worse than the disease, and then it sort of drifted into this our liberty and our rights. You can't take away our liberty and our rights, you know? But if you look at the protesters, it's clear that they're all Trump people,
Yeah.
So Trump comes out yesterday, right? So how Trump spins it is that it's the fake news media, right? So he's been 3 years pushing the concept of fake news. So why would anybody listen to CNN, MSNBC, or even just ABC, CBS? You watch great journalists from CBS, ABC. They've been fucking the best questions to Trump at the press conference have actually come from like the network news.
Yes.
So why did they can discard all of Trump's terrible answers to these really simple questions by saying it's all fake news. So if everything that's good for the benefit of humanity is fake news, then they don't have to listen to it. So the fake news of yesterday was the CDC director, Redfield, said to the Washington Post that it's going to come back in the autumn, and when it does, it's going to be more complicated because the flu and the coronavirus are going to be there at the same time. So he said, his quote was, even more complicated, right? So the Washington Post runs the story with the headline, CDC director says that the second wave of coronavirus in the autumn will be more devastating, right? So, of course, they all fucking jump in on, all the media jump in being like, this is only the beginning, it's going to be worse. So Trump comes out at the beginning of the press conference yesterday. He's like, this is fake news. I've got CDC Director Redfield here, and he's going to point out that he was misquoted, and this is typical fake news. It might not even come back in the autumn. That's what he was like. He was like, it might not even come back. It might not even come back. So he brings out Redfield, right? And then Redfield comes out and says, no, what I was saying was it's going to be even more complicated, right? So then one of the journalists is like, so let me just read out the quote to you. Did you or did you not say this? He reads out the quote verbatim. Redfield goes, yeah, that's what I said. And then he goes, so let's just make clear, you haven't been misquoted, right? And he's like, no, I haven't been misquoted, but the headline was misleading. You know, and it's like, oh, so even more complicated and more devastating. These are that far apart. I mean, like this is such a fake news fucking move away from the norm. No, but Trump takes all information about the coronavirus being bad as an attack on him, which has always been the problem. You know,
so when the CDC officer is there going, basically confirming the fact that he wasn't misquoted, Trump is standing to the side, and what's he doing? Is he?
Well, he's thinking. Trump is so deluded. He's probably thinking like, well, we've cleared that up, right? Yeah. So then, even worse than that. Do you know what's even worse than that, right? So he's done this before. He did it to Fauci too. He made Fauci come up and sort of walk back something he said, because it's so insane that Trump would take it personally that the CDC director said it's going to be worse in the autumn. That's what's so crazy, because that's not even a criticism of Trump. It's actually completely independent of what Trump had done. Trump could have done the best job ever, and the director could have said that had nothing to do with Trump. That's the virus. The fucking virus come back in the autumn. It's nothing to do with you, you know? But he takes it personally, and he tries to use that as a way to attack the media. See, he's constantly trying to discredit the media, because then all the criticism of him can be thrown into the big fake news bucket, which is a straight out of the dictator's handbook. So what's even worse is afterwards on CNN, Anderson Cooper points out that Redfield retweeted the fucking article last night. Oh, sorry, not last night, because this was, you know, the article came out the other day, the article came out Tuesday evening, I guess, online, right? So on Tuesday night, Redfield fucking retweeted it, or maybe it was Wednesday morning. Either way, Redfield retweeted it. Great article with the fucking headline on it. No problem at all. Then he has to come out to try to cover Trump's ass and be like, whoa. You know, it's like, it's a total con job.
And none of the people that are protesting against the lockdown see this at all. They obviously don't see this narrative at all.
Well, listen, these people are gonna pay a price, because there's clearly gonna be a spike, because the problem with these people is they have failed to accept that until we have a vaccine, or at least a treatment that we know works, the only weapon we have against the virus is to slow the spread. They can't get that through their heads. And when you add then this sense that this is a leftist conspiracy against our rights, our liberties, and against President Trump, then it's easy for them to just rise up and be like, well, we're not going to stand for this.
Yeah. Now, obviously, he's doing most of this because the election is coming up, isn't it? Like, he's just
it's 100% related to the election. I mean, it's 100%.
So, and when's it happening?
November,
right?
Yeah, this is all related to the fact that Trump knows that the coronavirus is bad for him. But the hilarious thing is that all he had to do was take it seriously from the get-go, and it would be great for him. Because every world leader that's done a good job is more popular than they were before. But
totally.
But unfortunately, he's such an idiot. You know, he has just chosen, because he's been bad from the beginning. But, you know, obviously, people don't want to admit that. But he completely is useless as a leader. And he's being shown up here. But all he had to do was be a leader, and he'd be more popular than he was. But he can't do that, because how can you run a country when all you care about is yourself?
Yeah, and all Joe Biden has to do is say nothing. Basically, it's not just let him hang himself.
Well, that would be a good strategy from Joe Biden, because he hasn't been great. He hasn't been the most articulate. Now, interestingly enough about Joe Biden, which I didn't know, and somebody who probably leans more towards the Trump side, I was on a podcast with the other day, and he was sticking up for Biden, saying what a lot of people don't know is that Joe Biden has a speech impediment, which I never knew.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and often people with a speech impediment, when they get jammed up with a speech impediment, they can go off track. Now, I haven't actually Googled this in the meantime. I should have Googled it. But it does make sense. Now, I'm no expert on speech impediments, but if, and I don't think this is the only thing going on with Joe Biden, but if it turns out Joe Biden has a speech impediment, and suddenly he became quite, honestly, since the coronavirus crisis, he has become like not that great at speaking. And I was thinking that, I'm only going on Daniel Kitson now, but Daniel Kitson has a very bad speech impediment, but it never comes out on stage, or certainly hardly ever. He gets up, he does stand up. He almost never has his speech impediment, but he does have it when you're chatting to him normally. So I was thinking that because Joe Biden has never lived through Zoom and done all his sort of public speaking through social media and the way that he has to do it now. I was thinking that perhaps his speech impediment is worse because of this alternative. Suddenly he's not in the areas that he's used to. But don't quote me on that.
There's also the element of because I know comedian Aidan Green here, who's done a lot of stand-up comedy shows about having a speech impediment, and he would say how when it was really bad, you would be thinking way before you're going to say a sentence, you'd be thinking of all the options of saying it differently, saying what it is that you want to say differently, so that you don't have to come across a word that you normally trip over. So say if he had
So you're not really thinking about what you're saying. You're thinking about,
You're thinking about other ways of saying other ways of doing it, which means that your point might be different. You know what I mean? Because you want to avoid a word starting with F, for example, or so your mind starts to think in those ways, and then obviously it will take you off track as well. So. It's super interesting. All right. Yeah.
There's articles about are a lot of his gaffes related to his speech impediment.
Right. Okay.
So they'd be curious. Yeah, be curious to explore that more. I won't get into it now, but anyway, I'm no massive Joe Biden fan. Well, I think Joe Biden's a fine man, but I just wish what I was actually saying on that podcast was that, and maybe we talked about this, but I just think it's very unfortunate that the American political situation is like essentially a 2-year nomination process. Like the sort of the chatter begins 2 years from the election, and then it gets serious. Like a year and 3 or 4 months out from the election, and then you have this long drawn out process of primaries, and the whole world can change in the meantime. And never has that been more apparent than now. So the whole world has changed, and. I always thought the Democratic field wasn't amazing, but there were some good politicians in there. But I just didn't feel like they were gonna get like a national profile, which they didn't. They all dropped out. Whereas now, there's like definitely 2 or 3, Democratic governors that you would be like, wait a minute, these guys are no joke. They're doing a great job. Phil Murphy, Andrew Cuomo, and Inslee in Washington. And Inslee was actually in the early primaries. He was like one of the first guys to drop out. And now he's one of the most successful states. Washington State had the first deaths, and they've had very, very little. They've mitigated really well. Like he's like a good leader, and he's like really articulate. And I would take any of those 3. I would definitely take Amy Klobuchar. Amy Klobuchar was there until quite late, and she's like, I was watching her on the TV the other day. And like, it's just like, oh, please, just give me this capable Ivy League educated woman who would just fucking shit all over all these problems,
Yeah.
But I know it's very American. I mean, I know it's all American politics, but people are very, they're quite into it, I think.
Yeah, totally, because there's definitely a big connection between Ireland and the US and all that, but there's also it's so different. For me, it's always been American politics is so scary how big of a country that it is, and you only have these 2 options going all the time, and like there's no complexity in it, and
what's the vibe in Ireland about Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael becoming?
It's been sorry, 1 second. I might have, do you want to pull that door shut? Yes. I think we have a sleeping baby or something. Anyway, it's all been kept a little bit hush-hush, to be honest with you, because it's all going under the radar a little bit. There was much more of a buzz when the results of the election came through, and it was Sinn Féin had done so well that there was a huge buzz. But it's all happening a little bit under the carpet now. If you're politically aware, if you're watching the political situation in Ireland, you know exactly what's going on. But the majority
it's the end of civil war politics, man. It's the end of the nonsensical divide between Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, which was always about the Civil War. They're the same.
Bullshit anyway. Yeah, exactly.
I think it's good. I think that Sinn Féin will settle in as the center-left opposition. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael will eventually become one party, center-right party, and the Irish political system will finally shed the remnants of the Civil War, and then it'll take another few generations before Sinn Féin sheds the remnants of the Troubles.
Yeah, it'll be another while for that, all right. But yeah, I agree.
Of the 3 main political parties in Ireland right now, all 3 of them were born out of violence.
Totally, the whole state is formed on violence, so to have this whole people's ideology towards Sinn Féin, to me anyway, is just like so hypocritical. If you're a Fine Gael but Sinn Féin are scum kind of a thing, I'm just like,
oh yeah,
we're all coming from the same place, bro. You know?
But I think for Sinn Féin personally, because they didn't run enough candidates, the scenario of being the main opposition party against Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael is, for their long-term survival, is probably the best case scenario. And
Definitely.
Mary Lou seems to really be starting to show herself to be like a proper leader. So I think that the coronavirus in a way is helping to reshape Irish politics, because you had this fucking explosive election where it was clear as day that politics as normal was gone. But unfortunately, it was a stalemate, right? It was going to be impossible for them to form a government, and Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael were really always going to be the only option. But how do they sort of sell it to their...
They still need to negotiate with other people as well.
Yes,
the two of them together is still not enough. Yeah,
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. Well, but what's interesting is that they can't. They couldn't really. It was very hard to sell to their supporters the concept of this being a good idea. But because of this national emergency, as a result of the coronavirus, they can just hide it under the umbrella of this is what's necessary to get us through this crisis. So in a way, the coronavirus has been the thing that's been crazy enough to allow Irish politics to do what it's needed to do for what I think is at least a decade. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael joining as one.
Yeah, totally. And the option of Sinn Féin being in the majority of the opposition is good, because anyone who's gone into coalition, like Labour, for example, or the Progressive Democrats back in the day, when they went into coalition with the bigger party, they basically collapsed. They lost all their supporters, because when things didn't happen the way that Labour supporters wanted, they all went, up yours, I'm going.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, Labour got shafted, and Labour really got shafted on that one, because that was that was the most difficult time to be in power, trying to save the nation after the economic crash. And it's all well and good to just take these populist opinions and be like, they did a terrible job, but it was a fucking terrible job to get.
Exactly.
Like, it's just so easy to just be like, they did this and they did that. And it's important to be critical, but for Labour to have been wiped out as a result of their attempt at saving the nation, it's quite unfair. But at the end of the day, that is what happened, and that is Sinn Féin has none of that baggage. So, I wouldn't be surprised if Labour eventually gets absorbed by Sinn Féin, or certainly anybody who would have been a traditional Labour person, they will gravitate towards Sinn Féin now.
Well, certainly that seems to be what has happened in the recent election. Labour have been decimated, but interesting few years ahead anyway.
So you were telling me, but when we were starting that, there was a story behind why you're not in the toilet.
Sorry, yes. Because we thought that today's podcast, because the timing wise, that I was going to be having to report live from the loo, but because it's usually my daughter's nap time. But we had a bit of a session yesterday where I've been spending a lot of time, probably unhealthily. It's probably not a good lockdown thing to do, but I go down the YouTube hole of watching food videos when I'm in bed, and you're like just drooling.
When you say
in bed.
Food videos, you mean like recipes and stuff?
Yeah, just all these like. There's a whole TV series on pizza alone on Munchies,
Oh, really?
Just on pizza, yeah. So I was down the burger hole yesterday, watching loads of burgers, salivating for the last couple of nights. So I found this one way of doing them, and I was like, right, I'm gonna go make these burgers. Went down to the butcher's, got a load of the right beef for it. I made the burger buns from scratch, and then
you made the burger buns from scratch.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. Made all of it from. Oh, it was hardcore. Check them out on Instagram. There. Oh, they were filthy burgers. So we ate them. So there's me, my girlfriend, and my daughter in the house. And I make the first one for the Instagram story, whatever like that. But you're tasting it as well and kind of going, oh, the bread's right. Yeah, just the right amount of cheese, maybe some more onions and blah, blah. So me and the girlfriend are tasting it, and my daughter's tasting it as well. But I keep making them as well. And by the time we finished tasting, I hadn't made this secret burger sauce as well. By the time we finish tasting, you're like, oh, we've got to eat dinner as well. So then I make the burgers each. So we all have tasted probably a couple of burgers already. Then we have the burger for dinner with chips as well. We ate 600 grams worth of beef, the buns as well, chips and everything. And we are absolutely stuffed. Like, I can't walk last night. I was like, oh, I think I'm going to be sick. My girlfriend has to go and make herself get sick because we ate too much, right?
Oh, my God.
She has a poo. My daughter won't go to sleep. It's like 11 o'clock at night and she's rolling around in her bed, chatting away, blah, 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 blah. So I'm lying with her in her bed while her mummy's downstairs having a poo. And next thing, my daughter's chatting away to herself, and I said to her, "Who are you talking to?" And she kind of sits up with her hair coming over her face, and she goes, "Shh, Daddy, no talking." I was like, "What's going on?" She said, "Where's Mummy?" I said, "She's downstairs having a poo." She says, "Two of us are having a poo."
No way. She shat herself?
So she's having a big shit in her nappy. Right?
Oh, she's still in nappies.
Oh, she's still in a nappy, yeah.
Oh,
but
yeah.
this is way past her. This is at 11 o'clock at night. So because she was up all night, up so late last night having a shit, she didn't get up till 10 o'clock this morning. So nap time is pushed on till later and all that stuff. So anyway, they're out and about and we've all been trying
But
to
if
have
she knows
poos
she's
all-
taking a shit, would she not be at the stage of like going to the loo?
We haven't talked to her mother. Yeah, she can go. I don't know why we haven't got her. We should be spending this time together, potty trained, but she just hasn't. Apparently, there's all these natural ways of doing it that the missus wants to do, but she's
I
very
tell you right now that those eyebrow raises are going to get you in trouble. Hold on, just so you know.
Hopefully, she just listens to it. She doesn't watch it. But,
I just landed you in it now.
but she's very specific about her. My daughter will, like, from a young age, loads of people are watching who have kids. I'm sure they do the same thing. When they're having a poo, they don't want anyone looking at them. They don't want anybody moving. They stop moving, stop it, shh, no noise, and they have to go behind something, So she goes behind the TV or she goes behind the bed or whatever.
Yeah,
like
so
that.
surely she's ready to be potty trained.
Totally, bro, totally. But
So
so
what's the natural?
I don't know. You don't, because we ask her, like, when you're going to have a wee, because she tells us when she's going to have a wee. We go, why don't you go do it in the toilet? And she's like, nah. I'm like, do you not want to do it like Mummy? Nah. So, but apparently all you have to do is let them run around all weekend with their nappy off. And when they're going to the toilet, you run over and bring them to the toilet or whatever. So anyway.
Yeah, I haven't had to do that. I didn't even have to house train Becky. Disappointing.
Yeah, because she already knew, did she?
She was already house trained. Yeah, it's very disappointing. And it's a pity that you can't just give your daughter a treat every time she pisses in the toilet and have it be done in a couple of days.
Well, this is all part of the natural training. You're not supposed to say "well done" because it's natural. I don't know.
So
bro.
praise is no longer holistic.
Yeah, like even stuff like, for example, my daughter will go like, I want to go on TikTok. Sometimes we'll watch the TikTok or we'll do the face filter. She likes to do that.
Yeah.
So I do it with her for 5 minutes from time to time. But then if her mom wants her to go wash her hands for dinner or whatever like that, or whatever it is, I'll go, look, we can watch TikTok, but why don't you go wash your hands and then we'll watch TikTok. And then she does it and she's like, yeah, absolutely. But apparently other people disagree with this reward system, blah, blah. I'm like, oh,
really? But listen, I don't have children, but I've been around a lot of kids.
Yeah.
Which sounds like the beginning of Trump saying, look, I'm not a doctor, but I have a lot of friends.
Yeah.
But from what I can see in every single child that I've seen raised in my adulthood,
yes,
negotiation is the whole fucking process. All I see, I literally feel like they're on the trading room floor all day, just like negotiating nonstop.
Yeah.
That's what parenting is.
Yeah, but also I think it gives you good life skills as well, because when you do grow up and you are older, you do realize, if you put the work into this, then you get that, and you don't, it teaches you, work as well, and you have to do things to get reward and stuff like that. But I don't know what my girlfriend's attitude is. Just like, you have to wait till she's in the middle of her tantrum. You have to wait till she's feeling right, and then we'll talk about it until she wants to do it and all this. I'm like, fuck.
I mean, I guess I can understand that in the sense of, you don't want them to have any association between the tantrum and getting what they want, right?
Yeah.
I guess I can understand that part. But
no,
at the same
totally.
time,
but before that, like, rather than getting into the tantrum or the argument or my girlfriend definitely struggles with being firm with my daughter. Like, I'll just say no, and that's it. You know what I mean? But she doesn't want to say no or whatever. But I'll
does
say,
she go like,
no,
why do you want that?
Yeah. All the fuck knows what the tactic is. Anyway, we should probably talk about it as opposed to me talking on the podcast.
It sounds like a conversation you need to have with the mother of your child.
Tell me about it. Yeah, but that's lockdown fatigue.
Get her in.
Though,
get her in. Let's work it out right now. Get her in.
Any advice from the listeners? Send us messages and tell us how do you negotiate.
Fair play to you, man. I mean, it's not easy. You know, all that stuff is so tough. Like, and you know, my cousin raised her child on her own, which is so tough. But every now and then we would have chats, and she'd be like, "The one good thing is I've never had to argue with my." I've never had to argue with my cousin. It's fucking my way or the highway. I've never had anybody.
Yeah. Totally. Because we've definitely, my girlfriend and I have definitely had completely different upbringings. The way that our parents parented towards us, but what she's doing is like reading a book and then this is the way to do everything, kind of a thing. It's like, you know. So there's a bit of that going on, but. Anyway,
well, the worst thing you can do is put it out on Instagram, because like in the early days of Becky, you know, I would just, you know, you just be like asking a question or whatever. Then people think they're involved in your raising.
Then they think they want your opinion. You want their opinions, like.
And then like everything, like any picture I posted, you know, people would be like one time I was teaching Becky to stay, right? The stay command. Now, for the record, I had no idea that there was a difference between stay and wait, right? I didn't know that wait was a separate command.
Right.
As far as I was concerned, I wanted Becky to stay until I tell her to come. But it turns out that that's actually like the wait command, and then stay is the more important command of no matter what, you stay in that position until you. But I don't know the difference, so I was only teaching her one command, right? So this woman messaged me and says, "That's the wait command. You're going to confuse poor Becky." And it's like, I didn't message back, but I was like, I can't confuse Becky with something that I don't know. She's only learning fucking stay. She's only going to get confused when I teach her wait and stay, and they're two separate things. But I'm not teaching her fucking wait or stay. I'm teaching her stay, one fucking thing, and it's my version of stay. Now, as it turns out, I'm fostering her, and she has a forever home, which I wasn't actually going to talk about today because we've talked for so long. But anyway, she has a forever home. So perhaps now when she goes to this forever home, if this owner teaches her the difference between wait and stay, then maybe that'll be confusing. But as far as I'm fucking concerned, you can't confuse somebody with something you don't know yourself. So fucking stay was going to be a all-consuming fucking command for her to not move when I ask her not to fucking move. But the reality is she was a great dog, but she was never great at stay.
Right. Does the clicker help with stay, or no? That's just for calling.
No, the clicker's for everything. The clicker, essentially, the clicker is a substitution for good girl or yes, or you know, the reason why trainers think the clicker is good is because it's clearly a sound that will only be associated with reward, whereas like everybody will say good girl to Becky. So it's like people say good girl to Becky for just like coming up to her and getting petted. They'll be like good girl. So you want a sound that's independent of something that she'll hear or confuse her. And so the click is basically, when I hear the click, I know I've done something good.
Okay, yeah.
You know, so it just like your child going to the toilet.
But she can't get rewarded on it.
She's not allowed to get clicked. Yeah.
Yeah. I just anyway, fuck it. That we could talk about. Maybe we'll talk about that next. I don't know if the listeners have any tips in their parenting. Fucking
I like a good parenting episode. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm totally up for it. I mean, anyway, my kind of personal philosophy is that like I would like to guide her towards the things that she's good at and the things that she enjoys and encourage her in that. But also I've got to prepare her for the world so that she becomes a person that can negotiate the world on her own and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's difficult when her mother's not prepared for the world. But I didn't say that.
You're gonna get in trouble, bro. You better hope she doesn't listen to this.
Oh, but I'm joking.
Well, let's finish up by just saying quickly, because I was going to do a thing about lockdown fatigue, because that seems to be a theme. Well, it seems to be a theme that's coming up a lot. In terms of even governments are saying that they understand that people are getting lockdown fatigue, and there is actually kind of a compassion about it because there is only a certain amount of time. So I had put it out quickly on Instagram this morning. The one thing I did, I got a message back. Well, I haven't checked since, but I got a message back saying that actually one woman said that she really struggled early on. She had insomnia. She just had she just wasn't dealing well with the quarantine, but actually her sleeping's back to normal now and everything, in that she has basically she has adapted to isolation and quarantine, which is something I didn't even think about, because I did hear a lot of my friends were telling me that they were having insomnia, that they were struggling with sleep as a result of this lifestyle change, which of course me and you didn't get, because this is fucking same shit we always do.
Yeah, we're kind of used to it, but I've heard that from a lot of people. Yeah, people not being able to sleep, and I assume it's because you're just not burning up the energy.
Yeah, and it's a lifestyle change and different things. Yeah, who knows,
No,
and then I heard a lot of people. Sorry, I was going to say a lot of people were having way more dreams.
Yes, my girlfriend's been having a lot of crazy dreams, and I'm having to wake her up in the middle of the night to go, whoa, you're having a dream, but she's literally in bed, asleep, going, and I have to wake her up and go, oh, it's a dream, wake up. But
keep chatting there, because actually I want to Google that about the dreams and quarantine. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's. I wonder, is it down to It's like she's scared of spiders, so she's having dreams. She's having bad dreams about spiders. But then my daughter woke up last night and she was having dreams. She sat up in bed and I went in and I was.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was like, what's wrong? And she's like, Daddy, there's 2 big spiders. And I was like, you're not scared of spiders. Your mother's scared of spiders.
Oh yeah. Try to stop her having that fear.
Oh, stop. I'm not buying into that at all. Because I tell her mother, if you see a spider and you're freaked out, don't freak out in front of her. Just call me and I'll do it, whatever like that. So, but I was teaching her today that I was like, look, if you see a spider and your mother's scared, then you get rid of it. And she's like, yeah, I'm big girl.
Right, so let's quickly have a glance at this Vox.com article. Now, I know Vox is super leftist website. Yeah. I like Vox, but this is a very sort of neutral topic. So this is why are people having so many vivid dreams right now, explained by an expert. The expert, for the record, actually we'll find out. So as people hunker down... So for those struggling to have a good night's rest or grappling with nightmares, the National Sleep Foundation recommends sticking to a consistent sleep schedule or taking a short 30-minute nap. Meanwhile, others have reported sleeping more, and consistent deep sleepers like myself rarely recall the dreams they have. For sleepers, it's the right time to collect dream content. Sorry, I'm sorry, because I'm doing this on the I'm doing this on the hoof, so I'm looking for the.
Yeah, it's okay. Fire away. Still good stuff.
So most people have vivid dreams during the REM cycle, rapid eye movement phase of sleep, and they tend to have longer and deeper REM cycles as the night progresses. If a person wakes up in the middle of a REM cycle, they're more likely to remember their dream content and the details involved. Others attribute this vividness to the emotional and physical chaos many of us are experiencing. In previous research, scientists have determined that the limbic system, part of the brain involved in emotional and behavioral responses, are activated during dreams, which are highly bizarre and emotional. So this is it. Dylan Selterman, social psychologist who runs the Dreams, Relationships, Emotional Attraction, and Morality Lab at the University of Maryland, on how something like COVID-19 could be affecting our sleep and our dreams. So I apologize to everybody for reading, but I was just getting to the bit. So how does stress about, say, a global pandemic affect our dreams? You've probably heard of the continuity theory of dreams, which hypothesizes that people dream about the stuff they're thinking about and doing while they're awake. If we feel some degree of stress about the pandemic or about work or family, then it's normal for those type of themes to appear in our dream content. I mean, that doesn't really answer our questions. Some researchers believe that dreams have a functional purpose to prepare us for difficult or challenging situations when we awake. Yeah, I don't.
I definitely think there's an element of... That's partly why I cut back on the news after the first 2 weeks, because I was becoming stressed even in my dreams. That, and I was watching that show on Amazon Prime, Hunters, which is...
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Jesus Christ. I struggled through the first 4 episodes of it. To me, it was so tense that I was afraid to go to the toilet when I was waking up in the middle of the night. But I think what happens is when you're on lockdown, it's my own personal theory, because you're just living in such a tiny world, which is your home and 2 kilometers around it, you're not getting on with a day that distracts you from all those thoughts and all those dreams. Like if I was having a normal day, you'd have meetings, you'd be going to coffee shops, you'd be dealing with people, you'd be, your mind is going on so many other different things. But because you've lost the ability to do that, you very easily get caught up in this negative dream cycle or stressy weird stuff in your head.
Yeah, according to Ruben Naiman, a PhD psychologist, a change in one's routine can stir up a dream recall. When waking life is more vivid, so is dream life. Interesting.
Interesting.
Patients routinely increase dreaming at times like this. Interesting. anyway, it's definitely happening because there's a lot of dream recall is very correlated with how many hours of sleep you get, and most Americans run around pretty sleep deprived. So I guess a lot of people are sleeping more, which gives them a chance to have their dreams more. I can't say if I've remembered my dreams more or not, which probably means even just saying that out loud probably means that I haven't. But anyway, in terms of lockdown fatigue, I wonder if also there's going to be a problem with lockdown adaptation, that actually people have become so used to the routine that going back to normal is going to be difficult too. I mean, I know I'm going to have a struggle with that. So. I can't even think about getting on stage right now.
Yeah, man, that feels so far away, bro. So far away.
I have shows in Phoenix in the middle of May, Phoenix, Arizona, and they're still not canceled.
Right.
And I messaged the club owner yesterday, and she's not up in it. She was like, "What are your dates again?" I'm not in front of my computer. So I have to Google my dates. But anyway, I'd be shocked if it's still on. I don't know why people from Phoenix, Arizona would want some guy from New York flying to Phoenix.
Yes, of course.
You know, from the fucking hotspot. But if they don't cancel it, I'm gonna have to go. But I wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah, fuck.
But I personally, I would think there'd only be a 5% chance that gig is not canceled.
Yeah, definitely.
Luckily, nobody fucking knows me in the States, so there's no way it's going to be crowded.
But here they like, it's August, the end of August, before like mass gatherings will happen in Ireland.
Well, that was the licensing thing. There's actually different. That thing that came out about mid-August was for the license for public
for
gatherings over 5,000. Yeah, but what we do is already covered under the. It's already covered under what they're doing in terms of no more than 50 people.
Yes, yeah.
And who the fuck knows when that's going to change?
That's the thing. But like the way, we have no idea. And then like, do they bring it back in, but there's still social distancing? They'll be the worst rooms to play ever.
I know.
There'll be half the numbers and everyone's spaced apart. Like, be like Edinburgh again.
I would do it. Yeah, I would do it. But it's very tough to do that because if a family buys 4 tickets. They live together, then they should be able to sit together. But how the fuck do you police that? Like, I wouldn't even know where you go. But sorry, have you experienced any sense of lockdown fatigue? I honestly haven't really, other than I lost all my exercise motivation from early on in the quarantine. I mean, I'm really not exercising.
Oh wow, that's unlike you. Fucking hell.
I know. Well, I just, I was carrying a lot of injuries, and every time I was ramping up the exercise, the injuries were getting worse, and I just kind of stopped exercising. And now I'm just
the back getting bad on the Peloton again.
Yeah, and my hip, but that's related to my back. So I just, if the Peloton wasn't causing me problems, I'd be doing the Peloton all the time. But it is causing me problems, and I really am not motivated to do other stuff. I'm really not. So that's the only thing that's happening with me is I would like to be able to sort of change it up a bit in terms of my exercise routine. Have you experienced anything? I'm on a pretty, strict is the wrong word, but I'm in the middle of a running program that I'm really enjoying. So I'm on week 3 of that. So I have gotten good focus on the running and back on that again. The only thing that from lockdown fatigue that I'm a bit it's like subconsciously freaked out about is not being able to travel again or something, because we spend so much time on the road. We're so used to, every weekend being in different parts of the country, or even going over to the UK, or like my girlfriend's family are from Portugal, so we would be over there quite a bit as well. Just the sense of like, when am I going to be able to fucking travel again is huge, and like I'm feeling a bit claustrophobic in that sense a little bit. Oh yeah. So, yeah, I can understand that. I guess because I'm out here, I'm not feeling that too much.
Yeah, but I mean, like even the thoughts of just going for a long drive or just travel. Like obviously, when you're on the road a lot and you're busy as a comedian, sometimes you're like, fuck, what I do not to be on a bus or a plane or whatever like that at the moment. But now I want that again, the sense of being in different places and being able to like pop over to London or go over to Glasgow or whatever, I say that even just to go into town properly, going to international, you know what I mean? So I'm starting to yearn for all that stuff,
Yeah. I still have that feeling of when I actually do go to the shop that it's like a big deal.
Yeah, it's such a big outing. It's such a anxiety. Like too many. Like I'm walking down the road all the time, going, "Why are they out now? There's too many people out. There's too, like an owl one.
I bumped into a guy the other day. I was going shopping, and I bring Becky in the car. She loves the car rides.
Yeah.
So the guy was admiring Becky. So I was saying, well, actually, Becky needs a forever home. This is before the shelter got onto me. Anyway, we struck up a conversation, but there was this moment in the conversation where I had to establish whether this guy loves or hates Trump, not because I wanted to complain about Trump, but just because I wanted to talk about how we think we're going to deal with this. And obviously the Trump people are like, it's a fucking overreaction. Did I tell you the story about when I went to pick up Chinese takeaway? Did I tell you that story?
No.
So the Chinese takeaway here is still open. It's a restaurant, but they're doing takeaway. But they have a whole setup at the side door. They have a little slot for your credit card and a microphone, and it's all set up for
nice, well played.
Very coronavirus pickup.
Yeah.
They never talk to you. They put the food in the slot. It's like essentially like a window at like a 24-hour garage in Ireland. Yeah. So this guy is in front of me, and he's like a typical fucking Long Island guy, a lid we call them, like a Long Island dick, and so he like does the order, and I'm keeping my distance, and then he looks back at me and he goes, "Is this what we've been reduced to?" I was like, "Well, I guess just for now until we deal with this." And he goes, "Fucking pathetic." I was like, dude, you should be fucking delighted you could still get a Chinese takeaway, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you should be like pathetic. You should be like, thank fuck for this, But so I'm not going to talk about it with that guy because that guy is a hydroxychloroquine. Fucking the cure is worse than the disease. But anyway, I was talking to this older guy, who it was just like I was like the whole time I was like dancing around it, and then finally he was like, well, I work in a lab, and the testing is a fucking joke. And then I was like, yes, he knows that fucking Trump is doing a shit job. So then I was just like, blah, 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 blah.
My daughter loves that one. The amount of those fucking TikTok videos I have to watch of that.
Yeah, man. I like, and then this guy was fascinating, talking about just the limitations to the testing. But anyway, just to wrap it up, Steve, if you want to look for an amazing journalist, Wei Jia, I think it's Wei Jia Xiong, is this. I think she's a CBS reporter, but she's had a few good interactions with Trump. And when she went to ask him a question today, even Trump was like, "Be nice, go easy, be nice," before she asked it, right? But she had so she's asking about testing. Now, Trump's latest thing is, he talks about how great he did with ventilators. And he says, you guys never talked about the ventilator. So he's basically like, you never praised me for the ventilators. It just shows that you guys are biased,
Yeah.
Like, because Trump is looking for praise for doing his job. It's like, yes, in fairness, like he did they got the ventilators up and running. There was never a shortage of ventilators in the States like there was in Italy, right?
Mm.
So that was, that ended up being a job well done by Trump. In that they managed to, they were a bit late to the party, but they did manage to get the right amount of ventilators for the crisis at hand, right? So she said, so he calls himself the king of ventilators. Trump said, we became the king of ventilators. That's what he said. We became the king of ventilators, right? So Wei Jiazhong asked him a question, something along the lines of, I know you keep saying that we all have this testing capacity, but the governors have time and time again said that they don't have all the resources they need to have the widespread testing that is necessary. Why don't you, use the Defense Production Act to get everything that we need so that we can also become the king of testing, right? Which is, that's just like such a fucking cheeky ass way.
Slam dunk for cheeky.
Yeah, it's such a cheeky ass way to answer the question. So if anybody wants to see like the press briefing at its best, look up that king of testing question.
King of testing, Donald Trump. Brilliant.
So Steve, I think if you don't mind, maybe we might do another one sooner than normal because there's two things that I want to discuss that we didn't get into today, and I'm just conscious of the time. I want to discuss a bit more about cults, particularly
cults.
Well, yeah, because I watched Waco. And,
okay.
It's just fascinating about cults. But then this morning I was thinking, have there been any female cult leaders? And so a few people messaged me telling me about them. So have a look. It's very interesting, the whole concept of cults.
Waco, okay.
Yeah, and just all that, and just the whole, narcissism, and it's kind of a little bit connected to Trump too. This sense of the importance of the cult of the leader. But I also want to talk about the fact that Becky is going to a forever home and discuss.
Yeah, man. We
fostering. So we got that's a biggie. But you can't. So maybe we'll be back sooner rather than later if you're okay with that.
Absolutely, let's do it.
Just go to the bathroom if needs be. And to record. So thanks very much, Steve. When's the next Hello Steve-O podcast?
Hello Steve-O's out Wednesday. So there was one yesterday morning, which was loads of people have enjoyed. I'm not going to do a spoiler for you, but we had a trip to the pub, believe it or not. So
brilliant! All right, well check out
Steve's sing song in the pub. Yeah.
Check out Steve's latest episode of the Hello Steve-O podcast. Do you find that this helps doing these? Do you find it gives a boost to that or no?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We've got I realised from my stats the other day that actually only half of my listeners are in Ireland and a quarter of my listeners are in the US. So I'm picking up loads of US listeners. So I'm very grateful for them, and they're supporting me on the PayPal donation button as well. So no, I'm very grateful.
Nice.
And the guys over in the US seem to be enjoying the show. So it's a bit of crack. It's a very silly show, but especially when it's just me on my own. So it's very silly, but people are enjoying it.
Check that out at Hello Steve-O on Instagram. I'm at Des Bishop on Instagram. We're just going to leave it here direct. I like just doing the sign-offs. It's just so nice and tidy to just do the whole show in the one line.
Exactly.
So don't forget to give us 5 stars on iTunes. Subscribe on
Spotify.
YouTube if you're a watcher. Subscribe on YouTube. Tell everybody you know. Wherever you watch or wherever you listen, take a screenshot. Tell everybody you know, and we'll just get a better chart position, more listeners, and it'll be great. So thanks very much. See you, Steve.
See you, man. Take care. Chat soon.
Bye, listeners. Bye.